Hello friends, my name is Dev. I welcome you all in this digital platform of Integrated Edu System New Delhi. Today here we are going to discuss about some of the important burning topics that has been in the spotlight in the month of July, and that particular topic for the today is National Food Security Act. So let's start with the National Food Security Act. As far as the news is concerned, it has been in the news because of the very first edition of state ranking for the National Food Security Act has been launched, that is by the Ministry of Food, Consumer Affairs and Public Distribution. So before going into the nitty and gritty of this topic, we should clear about the significance of this topic that is going to be useful for the mains GS paper 2, that is Indian Polity and Governance, as well as in the paper GS 3 for the particularly for the Indian economics and the economic developments in our country, and the optional subject particularly for the geography, and in the PT examination of the civil service. So it is going to be very important for these all important topics and subjects paper of the UPSC examination. First we start with the prelims point. If we see the National Food Security Act, the very first thing is that enactment the day of the 5th July of 2013, and this very day the first edition of state ranking also published, because of the very first day when the National Food Security Act came into the existence after the passed by the Parliament. President give his final approval at the date of 5th of July 2013, and the notification means officially this act was started from the 10th September 2013. So these are the two important dates regarding to the National Food Security Act. Apart from that, the nodal agency for the monitoring as well as implementation of this particular act under the Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. Apart from that, ranking, as far as ranking is concerned, if in the general category wise, we have seen that state of Odisha in the rank 1, Uttar Pradesh rank 2 and Andhra Pradesh as the rank 3 holders. And the special category states, Tripura the first rank, Himachal Pradesh second and Sikkim in the third ranking. And in the UT category, Union Territory category, Dadar and Nagar Haveli as a pioneer state among the Union Territory. And if we go into the salient feature and provisions of this particular act, then we find that the very first important provision of this act is that covering about 75% of rural and the 50% of the urban population under this National Food Security Act, and that is through the providing food through the targeted public distribution system. And these entire, if we club together the urban and rural population, then it is about 67% of the entire population of the country. So that is about equal to 81 crore people are getting benefited from this National Food Security Act's public distribution system. The next point important is that entitlement. What are the entitlement mechanism? That is subsidized food in the discounted rate. First, the 3 rupees per kg rice, 2 rupees per kg wheat and 1 rupees for the coarse grain. This is the subsidized food rate for these beneficiaries, and 5 kg per person for the prioritized or priority households. That means if we consider in India a family consists of 5 people or 5 person. So it means they will get the 25 kg per month. And next important thing is about that there is another one category, that is the Antyodaya household category. In this category, provision of 35 kg of these food grains are going to be given per household. So, this is for the per month 35 kg under the Antyodaya household, particular for these categories under the Antyodaya AAY or Antyodaya Ann Yojana scheme. The next important is the focus. This National Food Security Act especially focused to the nutritional support to particularly to the children as well as women. For the children, midday meal scheme is there, as well as the integrated child development service that is operated from the 1975 still today, that is in the operation, and that is for the child of the 6 months to the 14 years. So, this is for the midday meal scheme, as well as maternity benefit under the present ongoing scheme, that is the Pradhan Mantri Matru scheme, that is particularly for the lactating and pregnant women, that is 6,000 of the initiative for these particular pregnant women and lactating mothers. So, that is maternity benefit. And next important for is the ration card issuance, particularly for the, this is with the view of women empowerment. If you see the first or eldest woman of the family, in the name of her the ration card will be issued by the authority. So, this is important, that how this scheme is also empowering our country's women. And later the final point is, for the prelims point of view, is a food security allowance. If entitlement, that 25 kg of rice or 35 kg of rice for the Antyodaya households, as well as if there is no, if due to some or other reason that incentives of 6,000 could not be given, then in that case the food security allowance will be given or provided for the non-supplying of the entitlement. This is again very important. So, this is all about the prelims point of view. And the next, marching ahead for the mains mode, the first important thing we need to know is idea behind NFSA, why NFSA is idealized or envisioned. First of all, if we see Article 21 that states that right to life, but that Article 21 we know that it is having one of the maximum amplitude for the interpretation. For say, like in the Menka Gandhi case in the 1978, Supreme Court authored a judgment that right to life is not only restricted to the living or breathing, but again additionally it is to live with the human dignity. So, this human dignity comprises various aspects, that may be health, that may be education, that may be privacy, or that may be choices. So, this is the maximum or wide amplitude of interpretation we can say in this Menka Gandhi case, and that is under the Article 21. And the next important thing is Article 47. Article 47, Directive Principle of State Policy, where it states that state has to endeavor for the raising nutrition, standard of living, as well as well-being of the people or health. So, this is important thrusting factor for the designing or devising of this National Food Security Act. And the next is United Nations Declaration for Human Rights, that was adopted in the year 1948 at the date of 10th December, in which Article 25, which states that right to stand up and standard of living and well-being. So, these are the three statutes or three ideologies, political tools, or Article 21, 20 and 47, which is under the Indian Constitution. So, these are the three major factors for the devising of this National Food Security Act. Apart from that, if we see the Food and Agriculture Organization, United Nations body, many times states that through the FAO's report that is named as State of Food Security Reports, many times that highlighted that there is a higher malnutrition in the South Asian part, including in the India. So, this has been very a time in the limelight. For definitely it made a compulsion to our policymakers for the coming with the some redressal mechanism in the form of National Food Security Act. And the very next point is government's effort to from welfare mode to right based approach. So, this is something as per the National Food Security Act, right to food, right to food and allowances become imperative. So, this is what the marching from welfare to right based approach. And another important point is the first green revolution, when production and harvesting of our food crops and food grains become raised or sold, then obviously it make us to think about the storing stock and in the response of bumper harvesting. So, this is important. And the next point is the sufficient and quality food at the reasonable price. This is one of the major aim or goal of this National Food Security Act. So, ahead if you see the fruit of NFCA design, what are the important benefit or outcome that happen because of the National Food Security Act? The first benefit is a additional food grains production, that is up to 13 million tons by the year 2020. So, earlier that goal was to produce at 25 million ton, but looking the success of this earlier goal, the government revised the goal of the 13 million tons of the food, particularly to raise the buffer stock of the country. The buffer stock from where food is supplied to the beneficiaries. So, this is how it works, and additional food grain production enables the food supply and availability of the food, that is because of the National Food Security Act regime. The second important thing is complementing National Food Security Mission, which was earlier envisioned in the year 2007, and according to that mission, raising production as well as providing food security was the mission, but that was just a sort of a scheme by the government of India, but later on that become a legal status through the National Food Security Act. So, this is how National Food Security Act is complementing to the National Food Security Mission. And third point is food security for poorest of the poor, Antyodaya, last mile people. Those are in that year when National Food Security Mission rolled out, then that was the criteria for the Antyodaya people, the household those generating only or equal to less than 20 or equal to 250 rupees per month. So, that income generating household kept under the category of Antyodaya or poorest of the poor households. So, for them food security is very imperative, and it may be a very obviously in the country like India, where this much of the less or lesser income is there, then affording food as well as living a standard life is almost impossible. So, for that it is important. And the next important is the food for all. Under the NFSA regime, the food for all mission or this goal is being achieved by the targeted public distribution system, midday meal programs, Antyodaya and Yojana. We have discussed about the TDPS, midday meal and Antyodaya and Yojana as well. And later the nutritional support, it is providing a nutritional support under the National Food Security Act, that is about more than 3.4 children that is crore children and the 70 lakh women. So, this is how the NFC regime is covering and providing the nutritional security as well. And the challenges regarding National Food Security Act. The first challenge is the declining percentage change in the average yield. The average yield and the production, these are the two things. Yield generally found in the respective of harvesting or harvest per area. As far as production is concerned, these are the two terms, production, that is for the overall harvest, irrespective of the area or how much the area. So, production is the total overall harvesting of the country or any particular region, and the yield is the harvest per harvest, that is means in terms of weight, that is kg or ton per area. So, these are the two different things, yield as well as the in the phase of production. So, declining percentage in the average yield means per hectare area in our country the harvesting is declining, that productivity factor is declining. So, this is one of the concern, that is from the year 2011 to 12, that can be seen. If we see the data to corroborate this statement, in the year 2011-12 there was per hectare, if we see the yield, then kg 1930 kg per hectare in the year 11-12, then the year 12 to 13 that is 2059 kg per hectare, in the year 20 in the next year 2013 and 14 2095 kg per hectare, and the next year we have seen the about year 2011 12 to 12-13, this is for the 13-14, this is for the 14-15, and this is for the 14-15. So, if we club or 15-16, in the last percentage change in average yields is a 20-70, earlier was the 20-01 kg per hectare. So, we can see the marked decline of the average yield of the country's productivity. So, that is one of the concern, and the next important concern is fluctuating agri growth rate. Agriculture, again we have seen that agriculture in India is gamble of monsoon, many a times that statement is used, but despite of various micro irrigation and irrigational intervention, our contribution of agriculture in the entire GDP is still fluctuating or uncertain. So, we can see in the year 2017-8 the GDP contribution or GDP growth rate of the agriculture is 4.9% annual, but in the year 2014-15 that is minus 0.2%. So, this much of the decline, if we see the graph, then definitely it is something the issue. So, this is the declining trend of the agriculture growth rate in the GDP. The another concern is the price volatility, the price fluctuation, that is completely related to the inflation. It how create the uncertainty, particularly for the accessing and affording the food grains. So, price volatility, that fluctuation of the price can lead to the accessibility as well as affording issues of the particular household or person. The next concern is network of the fair price shops at the convenient locations. Many times some areas or settlements are in the remote areas, particularly these below poverty line or Antyodaya families resides in some of the remote areas, that are the case in our country, but providing or accessing that food under the NFSA regime, this is equally important to provide in the convenient location, so that they can access and afford to the that can tap the availability of the food grains. So this is very important that in our country fares of price are not equally distributed across the region. So this is the issue. Another thing, the centralized procurement model. The procurement is completely undertaken by Food Corporation of India as well as National Federation for Marketing of Agricultural Products, NAFED, but distribution duty is assigned to the states. So this is one of the bureaucratic hurdle, we can say, because of the coordinating lapses or any issues. Suppose that procurement is not being done by the FCI in the proper time or untimely. In that case, distribution of the state will be hampered. Definitely that will ultimately lead to the availability and accessibility of the food grain, and if in that case state couldn't able to provide the food grains under the NFSA regime, then state has to pay these people or these beneficiaries in the form of food grain allowances. So it will be the extra burden for the exchequer because of this bureaucratic hurdle or coordination mismanagement. And the next thing is the high food subsidy bills. Because of our in country, we have seen recently that has been in the burning news that previous culture is promoting. So this is again ultimately extra burden to the treasury. The previous culture is promoting. So these are the challenges regarding the National Food Security Act. Apart from that, ghost beneficiaries. There are some leakages because of some people are not legitimate beneficiaries. Despite of that, due to some file or some misrepresentation of themselves, are leading to the having that beneficiary out of this NFSA regime. So these are the ghost beneficiaries. Those are not entitled to get this benefit, but they are getting it illegally or through bypassing these documenting channels. Later, if we see the technical loopholes, because of the technical issues, like in the recent example in the state of Odisha and even in the Jharkhand, we have seen that because of the hunger, because of the inaccessibility of these ration fare shops and unavailability of the food, led to the death of few of the people or person. So that is one of the issue again, that despite of having this much of the stock harvesting as well as this much of the robust system, despite of that we are not able to deliver the needy people. So this is because of the technical loophole, due to in certain before some time others ceding to this ration card as well as in the Antyodaya card also become one of the hurdle because of the miss or coordination issues between the bank, fares of price as well as the government. And one of the issue is that despite of our efforts towards achieving the food security under the National Food Security Act, the Composite Global Hunger Index that is published by the concerned worldwide organization, India's rank in the 2021 is the 101. That is slipped from the 2020 ranking, that was the 94. So we are 94 to again slipped back to 101. So it is definitely a cause of concern that whether our Food Security Act is completely addressing the issue or not. Now the last part of the discussion, the road ahead, the alternatives as well as way ahead, what can be the solution. If you see, the Niti Aayog recently recommended that about cutting coverage of the beneficiaries under this NFSA scheme, and from 75 to 60% and for the rural population, and that is 50% to 40% for the urban. So Niti Aayog is suggesting that by cutting coverage of the population, that is 60% for the rural and 40% for the urban, it can result in the annual saving of approx 47,000 crore. So, this is one of the suggestion. And the second, another important thing is the revision of household consumption expenditure survey, because of our beneficiaries are based on the household consumer expenditure survey of the year 11-12 financial year. So, today if we see the 2020, so it has been more than decade. So, we need to revise our household consumption expenditure survey, and based on that we should again recalibrate the number and population of the, or identify the beneficiaries. The economic survey in the report 2021 highlighted that how the rising prices of food subsidy is creating the issue, because of the central issue price, and that is need to be revised for the food grain to cut the food subsidy bill. That is because of the enlarging of burden. So, this is the issue which is highlighted by the economic survey 2021 report. We need to revise the central issue price, the price at the food grains are procured from the farmers or market by the government. And the next is the robust technology infrastructure, that is curbing leakage to prevent the ghost beneficiaries, delayed payment in case of coordination issues between center and state, so that food allowance which is entitled under this scheme can be given timely. So, this is equally important, that if they are already delayed for the entitlement and thereafter the food allowance is again delayed and paid to that particular beneficiary, then it is again the issue for the success of this NFSA. And bureaucratic hurdle, again coordination is important, and we should look for some better alternatives in case of any issues arising between the two different bodies or two different departments. And we need to shift from food to nutritional security, including something like the intervention of biofortification. This is one of the issues. Recently we have seen how golden rice introduced in India, and so that this particular rice variety of the which enabled or inherited with some of the important vitamins like vitamin A and other multivitamins, so which is actually ensure the nutrition. And apart from that, complements inside India's SDG commitments. We have seen the SDG goal 2, that is to reduce the zero down the hunger. SDG 3, health and well-being. These are the SDG goals to which India is party, so that through leveraging the National Food Security Act, these SDG goals commitment of India can also be achieved. So, this is important. And the third, last but not the least, the trinity of well-being is to be established between food security, nutritional security as well as health security, and that is to be universalized, so that none of the section left behind in the process of development of the country. So, again food, nutrition and health security is important, and these are should be considered as the need of the hour and looked in a club way, not in a separate manner, for the ultimate well-being of the people and the country. So, this is all for the today. And guys, I would like to inform you that our institute integrated edu system providing some of the important courses for the civil services offline and the online mode. The GS foundational batch 2023 is going on. and the admissions are open for this batch. Optional geography, mains answer writing program as well as geography optional writing program is also running in this institute, and our institute address is the A2 Ankur Tower, Mukherjee Nagar, New Delhi. So, this is for the today, and for the next time we will discuss some very important topic, and I hope you have liked the video. And with this, if you have any query, then you can comment on the comment box, as well as you can visit our website www.integratededusystem.com for the further or more inquiry. With this today, I thank you all. Thank you for the time.